So what's the day to day like after you've been so well established in the market? You've worked with some of the most gigantic companies. And
Yeah.
so are you still in what we call founders mode, always hunting for the next big opportunity, or are people knocking at your door? And so how does it happen at that stage?
So that is the one thing that I gotta say that becomes a lot easier is that, you've established a relationship. So number one, for attracting clients, you've established a relationship. People call you, which at the beginning nobody even knows you exist. So it's really tough. You're constantly hunting. Whereas now, over 17 years later, you're hunting more intelligently because you can. You have that freedom. You also have learned to say no to things over time, which you don't say at the beginning, which is the worst. But you need cash flow to start. You need to make payroll. You need to pay your rent. You have expenses that are undeniable at the beginning that you can't just say, well, I'll bypass it this month. No. So you're taking on a lot more things you shouldn't take on at the beginning. As long as it gets you through the cost of things. But at one point, you really have to be honest with yourself and stop doing the things you're not great at. So 17 years in, we've really stopped a lot of the things we weren't great at. So it's easier to make money with the things we do today because we're experts at those things. The other thing with 17 years being 17 years in, I have a little management team. So a lot of things that I would have been doing, breaking my back 7 days a week, I have a team doing now. And that takes time as well, right? You need to create a certain critical mass in revenue to be able to have the right type of people, to be able to pay the right salaries, and to have the right amount of those people within your business. So our game from day one is growth, but profitable. We will cut the business if it means more profitability. So that's super what I've been looking at. So it's been a slow and steady growth. It's the only way I could find a way to grow profitably was to grow slow and steady. Now, like I said, next step is to grow through acquisition. It's going to be our next 5 to 10 years. Going to be through acquisition. Now that we have really solid financial foundation, good customer base, it's a lot easier for us to make moves. So yeah, so easier today than it was back then. Yes, definitely.
When you say you'd rather be an expert at one thing instead of doing things all over the place, is that because of lessons learned over time? You were too big and losing money, or maybe not being as profitable in other parts of your business?
So like I was saying, like imagine you're starting off and you get a client and clients like, okay, I need the signage, I need this, and this. And then I need, what? We need these other things. We feel that they're connected to signage to us. And at the beginning you say, yeah, of course. It adds another 25,000 on that job. Yeah, we'll supply you with that. And then you go through the trouble of supplying it and you're like, oh my God, this is not what we're good at. And then you disappoint the client because you're like, well, look, you did your best, and they're like, whoa, this is not quite well. Okay, no problem. Let me help. Next thing you know, your costs have gone so high because you're not good at what you're doing, and all you're doing is trying to make the client happy, and you end up making the client happy. And something that you thought you'd make, X% gross margin is down to 2% gross margin, and you're like, I lost money on this. This is crazy. I can't do this anymore, and I can't say yes to everything anymore. So you learn the lesson, as you just said. You learn the lesson, but it's so tempting at the beginning to just kind of say yes to everything. So yeah, we'll figure that out. We're great at figuring things out, but honestly, and you do it, and there are going to be some wins. I don't know how many out of 10 you win, and you do. Oh yeah, that was pretty good. Let's add that to the mix. But when you are doing beta testing live with clients, it's not a good idea. And the client ends up knowing, yeah, these guys aren't experts at this. And then they think even the things they're good at, they're probably not good at it. They just got lucky. So you want to keep that sort of feeling for your clients. You want your clients to sort of feel at all times like they're in such good hands with you. And it's when you say no to a client, like, yeah, this part of the project will do. This is $100,000 project. We'll do all these things here. Oh, you want me to take care of this? We actually don't do that. to be honest with you. And I don't think we'd serve you well. And that's when the client goes, okay, I have experts in front of me. Like these guys are solid. So the big part of that project is going to be done super well. They're willing to say no to things. So I've noticed over time my clients really appreciated my no's.
Hey, can you talk to me about the business a bit? So let's talk about the signage business. How does it actually work? Does someone just come to you and they're like, hey, that's exactly what I want? Or do they give you an idea and you just look at the culture of the company and say, you know what, this would suit you better, or this is the best based on my experience? How does that relationship actually happen?
So we have different type of clients. We have clients who need outdoor signs. So imagine a chain like Gap. They need the same Gap sign everywhere on all their stores. They'll say to us, okay, we're opening or we're changing the logo or we're opening a new stores. We need 12 of them this year. Here's a schedule, make us a quote. This is very simple work and easily done. So we take care of the whole process. We manage that for them. There's permits at the city. There's a whole bunch of things we do for them. And then we'll put them all up on their schedule. Very important piece of their store opening because it has a logo on the front of the store. So it has to be organized. Then we have another group of clients, a much
But
more
but but
complicated
sorry,
group.
Jeb, I don't want to cut you off, but
No, go.
do they also talk to you about the material used, or like whether or not it should be brighter, this, or it's just like that's how it
Yeah.
should look like and you just deal with it?
So they have an internal marketing department who will be like, here's the look we're going for. Here's what we want. Here's what we suggest. We could be like, guys, that's bang on perfect. Or, hey, hang on. Montreal, we get it. Your guys are maybe the California team. Montreal winters, guys, we have to put holes at the bottom. We have to do different things. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. Thank you. So we bring that expertise right back to them. We'd rather use these materials just because of the super hot, super cold climate we're in, guys. Is that okay with you? And then they might have an answer why no, or they'll just be grateful that we help them. So we will have an input there, but we'll try and respect their original request as much as possible because companies like that will send us an actual drawing ready to go. So
Mhm.
they're not looking for a, hey, we're called Gap. Can you make a logo for us? No, they have like maybe a 50-page how to use our logo on anything document, and we have to respect that. So that's our outdoor business. So and you see those everywhere. I say Gap, but it could be a million type of stores, Krispy Kreme, whoever you want, restaurants, retail, hardware stores. Doing their outdoor signage is quite easy. Where it gets complicated for us and where we have to learn to stick within our expertise is when we do indoor signage. So indoor signage is super interesting. So that can be, let's call it the offices of a law firm or Google, let's say, to give a name. We did Google's offices, I think last year. They took 6 floors on a building downtown. They want to have branding throughout the floors. They want to create a look. An architect has themes per floor. So we're going to have murals on the walls, creating those themes. And really it's everything visual within the workspace to make it work for those employees, to make an amazing workspace so that employees come to work, because it's kind of become the goal of all companies, get them back into the space. So creating these beautiful spaces with more than just signage. Signage, yes, but also visuals. So this is where the client can say, hey, if we're doing this on the walls, these beautiful prints, can you supply us with the ceiling tiles? And that's what we're going to say, you know what, guys, we don't buy enough ceiling tiles for it to be cheap enough for you. Our pricing is going to disappoint you. And there's experts. The installation might not be perfect. So stick with your ceiling guy on that. We can work with them on colors because we're printing all the walls and doing all the little signage. We'll work with them. So that's an example. So these projects are much more involved than an outdoor sign. This is 6 floors of maybe 126 items that have to be put throughout the floor. Window film on every office for privacy, office privacy. It depends how much they need. So then we bring that expertise, and then wall prints. Should it be this? Should it be that? What look are we going for? And then actual nameplates, signage, bathroom signs, wayfinding. These are the things we're amazing at. But we'll get asked, can you take care of the ceiling tiles? Hey, we're doing this thing in a conference room. It's nuts. We'll look at it. What material you want to do it in? Oh, it's this crazy metal thing on the wall. Yes, we'll do that. We have a metal shop. That will do. We want to do it using this other material. We saw it in Europe. We'll be like, listen, guys, by the time we source it and get it, you'll be in the office for 3 months. Why don't you call the European supplier?
That goes way beyond what I expected. Because when you kicked off with the outdoor signage, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But what you were describing, the project that you described, that must have taken a long time. How long does it
Yes.
take from start to finish?
So we talk indoor signage, a larger project like the one I mentioned, and they're very creative. Their space has to be super creative. These guys are competing for employees with everybody. That world, employees move around, get paid much more elsewhere. So they really have to create an incredible space. So that one has a lot of what I do in it, what we do here. So that one starts 6 months before construction even starts. So imagine when they're redoing the space, they're doing the gyprock, the lighting, the floors, the electrical. There's so much going on. And the last thing that comes in is signage. So call it 6 months before they're getting pricing. They hire a GC based on pricing for everything. So, this could be a 12, $15 million project. Signage could be, 150, 200 grand. So it's a very small amount of this big project. We get POs, we get started, and then we start talking to designers. What are you guys thinking? We saw your pictures, not everything was full. We priced based on these images. Is it going to change? They'll be like, hey, can we come down a little on budget? Yeah, we saw a couple of places we changed materiality. We can help you guys. Okay, so there's a little back and forth there for about 2, 3 months. Then we create drawings, final drawings that they have to approve. That'll take 2 more months. So by the time construction starts, we have approved drawings. Then we start the process of creating samples. We'll bring samples to them. Hey, those items on those walls. Here's what we thought. This is what we quoted. Yeah, we love it. No, we don't. Can we make it thicker? Yeah, we'll make more samples. And then the construction projects is going. They're putting up walls, their ceilings, floors, plumbing, electrical. They're going. When they're all done, they got to put up the windows for each office, which we're going to decorate. When they're all done, the dust is done, everything's killed. We got to go in there at the very end. So we go in at the very, very end. The last 2 weeks are us putting everything on top of the painted walls, making it the way they wanted it to look. And as I mentioned, we can be 1% of the project budget, one. But let me tell you, what we do is 90% of what anyone sees, right? A small amount.
And Jeb, I'm wondering, after all this time, do you feel like you as Jeb personally are the face of the company, or the company's name itself, or the company's name speaks for itself? Like, how connected are these two after such a long time? Because the brand name must, people know the brand, but are you the brand as well?
So I can tell you. So I have a business partner, Jean-Philippe. So when we started this company, the company was us. So people hired me, people trusted me. I mean, I was on the project the whole way, helping them, getting them through things, helping them understand. They always saw me. And the same goes for Jean-Philippe, who's an amazing technical guy. So they would just deal with him all the time, and it was great. As you grow, you really have to break away from that quickly, because your company can only be as big as the, maybe 80 hours you put in a week. So you can't get enough clients, one person working 80 hours a week. You also get very tired because everyone calls you. Yeah, yeah, whatever. I'm dealing with Jeff. So what we do now is, he's really, when it gets technical and people need to be convinced on a really complex project, they talk directly with him, and he puts them at ease with technical know-how to make them go, okay, this is going to work. And then we always pass it on to a team. So our clients see it more as iCubic now, because they're not dealing with one person all the time. It's not a personality. They all know that they have our cell phone numbers if there's something that's off or something they need help with. They always know that they have us as a parachute, but it's really become iCubic. We've won a lot of awards over the last few years, in different facets, and it's iCubic that wins them, and iCubic that gets written up. designers, architects, contractors, clients, they know iCubic for what iCubic does, and that comes after being in business. I'd For us it was about 10 years in. 10 years in, it really became that brand over any person. Really, we got too big. We had too many employees. I'm used to dealing with Bob. I'm a client. I'm used to dealing with Bob. I don't even know what Jebb is. So for me, it's iCubic. Oh, Bob changed departments. I'm working with Mark now, but I'm still getting the great iCubic service that I had before. It's consistent, and we have systems in place for clients and different things, and so that's the iCubic feel. So yeah, it's gone beyond just us.
Mm. Yeah, and you guys kind of become the final card to play. So if there's a big negotiation, we bring in Jeb or Jean-Philippe, and they can
Correct.
seal the deal.
And
Yeah,
then we still take care of a lot of those things, but not all of those things. But when it's necessary, yes.
mm. Jeb, unfortunately, we're out of time, but it was fascinating talking to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you too. We look forward to speaking again.